City School Board to order. Erin, would you call the roll, please?
Student Trustee Kinsland.
Here.
Trustee James. Trustee Morton.
Here.
Trustee Schaefer.
Here.
Trustee Ohm.
Here.
Trustee Griffin.
Here. All right, we have nothing to disclose out of closed session. Item 4.3 is approval of the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Any comments or questions before we do that? Okay.
Student Trustee Kinsland.
Yes.
Trustee James. Yes. Trustee Morton.
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer.
Yes.
Trustee Ohm.
Yes.
Trustee Griffin.
Yes. I think we talked about this just briefly. Lisa is joining us by Zoom. She's the outgoing ELK trustee, but because she doesn't meet one of the Brown Act requirements for public participation, I think she's attending and but not participating as a board member tonight. Lisa, is that right?
Correct.
Great. So I think just strike her vote from the record. Thank you. All right. Item number 5 is the public hearing on the resolution regarding the accounting of developer fees for the 23-24 school year. The actual approval of the resolution is item 10.8 on the agenda later tonight, but I will now open the public hearing regarding the resolution on developer fees. That document is at item 10.8 on the website if anyone wants to reference it. Does anyone have any comment about the developer fee resolution? And this is just a yearly accounting for the money we bring in through a property tax for school facilities. It is, I think, currently around $300,000, and we plan to use a good amount of for the K-8 playground. We'll get to that. 10.8. All right, hearing none and seeing none on the Zoom, I will close the public hearing. Moving on to item 6, which is the ELK trustee seat, Area 1. I think we mentioned in our last meeting that Lisa James's term has ended, and she was thanked for her service. And thank you once again, Lisa, for your service. We all really appreciate it. So we do have an open seat, and we have one applicant, Mia Bloyd, who is here today. I see her, who submitted an application. So item 6.1 is the ELK trustee interview and appointment. I don't personally feel the need to re-interview Mia. We already put her through her paces last time. We gave her a hard time. And I thought that your application was great. So does anyone else have any questions for Mia before we appoint and swear her in?
Thank you for stepping up.
Absolutely.
Likewise.
So do we need to vote to appoint her and then you swear her in? Is that how
I
it
think
works?
that's the way it would work. Yeah.
Okay,
I'll move
let's do that.
to make the appointment.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions before we vote? All right.
Student Trustee Kinsland.
Yes.
Trustee Morton.
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer.
Yes.
Trustee Ohm.
Yes.
Trustee Griffin.
Yes. All right. So I will turn it over to Jason for the swearing in. I think.
Yeah, so, I mean, Mia, you can come on up and take your seat at the board.
Welcome, Mia.
Thank you.
All right, so if you could just read this. I'm not going to do the repeat after me, but go ahead and do that. And do your oath.
I, Mia Bloyd, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
All right, that's good. Thank you. your official member of the board.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jason. All right, moving on to item 7, which is the consent agenda. These items are generally passed in one motion without discussion, unless anyone wants to pull an item and move it to an action.
I'll move that we adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
Are those extra agendas? Mia, do you have one?
Oh,
No,
yeah, that is
the paper
nice.
one.
Getting thrown into the deep end there. We've all been there. Expected to vote on everything a moment later, so. All right, so we do have a motion and a second on the consent agenda. Aaron, will you please call the roll?
Student trustee Kinsler.
Yes.
Trustee Floyd.
Yes.
Trustee Morton.
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer.
Yes.
Trustee Owen.
Yes.
Trustee Griffin.
Yes. Item 8 is reports. Student trustee Knut.
All right. So, for this report, do you want to get the things up? I basically just covered this finals week, since that's been the most significant thing recently. And for the first question, it was, how prepared are you for finals? Are you getting that?
Oh,
Right?
yeah. Wants to be tricky.
1 second. All right, how prepared are you for finals? And you can see we have, in the big statistic, red, 58% of people are prepared. And that smaller one is the yellow statistic, 32% is not prepared. And the little green one is 6.5% highly not prepared. And the tiny blue one person said that they are highly prepared. So interesting stuff. And then for the next
That would have
one,
been my son.
what? Oh, yeah, maybe so.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Next one is, did you find the all-school after-school tutoring session helpful? And you can see that 54.8% did not attend at all, but 19.4%, that blue there, found it very helpful. 19.4% in the red found it somewhat helpful. And the yellow, the small little one, is they found it not helpful, with 2 people responding not helpful. And on the last one, this one is, would you like to see these sessions more often? And you can see that big blue one, 77.4%, would like to see these after-school tutoring sessions that are school-wide and open in all classrooms. They'd like to see that more often. And 22.6% of people, they say no. They don't, yeah. And then also not on the list here, but I also asked people, what are your plans for winter break? And I'll read off some of those. I'm gonna work and spend time with friends and family, try to have a nice time. On Christmas break, my cousins from Alaska are coming to visit. I'm going to have a trip to Florence, Oregon to see my extended family and going to Oregon's best aquarium and getting an Airbnb. College apps, hanging out with friends, and starting scholarship applications. Jamaica, a lot of sleeping, which I'm sure everyone could relate on that, even the teachers. Skydiving, celebrate Christmas, and yeah. That's all. But I do have more pie charts after Annabelle's report later.
Wonderful. Thank you, Knut.
Can I ask a couple questions?
Yeah.
How many people would it be possible to get responses from, and what is your typical response rate?
Well, this one was actually on the higher end. I got 31 responses, and usually we got like 20, 25. So yeah.
And that's out of, what, 120 or something? How many
Total?
possible?
Are you talking at school?
Yeah.
162.
162.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Knut? All right, Tobin, you're up.
All right, thank you, Canoe. Welcome, Mia. Congratulations. All right, go ahead. So just a couple things going on around campus. We had our CTE Winter Showcase this past weekend, which was well attended. And there we go. So all the CTE programs were represented there. You can see some sampling of that. I know Emily was there and Wind Spirit was there. So congratulations and all the hard work to our CTE teachers and the students that produce all of the work for the showcase. And then I thought I'd show some pictures around campus, and that somehow they just turned out to all be sports. So instead of around campus, I just called it sports. I guess that's what's on our mind these days. But some of this goes back to early November. Our girls came in second in the D3 soccer, which is super exciting. That's Lila, who got third in CMCs and went on to NCS for cross country. You can see our newly hydro-seeded soccer field alongside our new scorers table, fully with our logos. Basketball season is full swing. In fact, I'll be leaving here around 6 to head down to Point Arena for the games there tonight. And even though it's kind of a sport, I had to throw it in there. That's the Vex Robot Arena, which is set up in the band room. First time in 10 years we've had actually ever been able to set up that arena because we've never had enough space. So, what that means is our club will have a chance to actually play the game before going to a competition where, could you imagine going to a basketball game and never actually having played on a basketball court before? That's what we've been doing for 10 years. So this is exciting. All right. What I actually want to spend the bulk of time on tonight is just highlighting our site classified staff. So this won't include district maintenance or cafeteria staff, but just those classified staff that are on our site. And just say a little bit about what they're responsible for. I think the impetus for this is that classified was hit pretty hard last year with the cuts. A lot of it fell on that. And I think this year, if things are looking better, there's different ways that money could be spent. I always want it in the back of our minds that some of our classified staff are stretched very thin. So I'm going to start with the custodials. And I just want to give you some context for what Rogelio and Jose do on a weekly basis. Next. This is the high school. Okay, it's a sprawling campus with lots of rooms. And so I was like, what do they have to do to go through a full cycle and clean everything? Next slide. There's 12 bathrooms, which I thought was pretty amazing. There's only 11 normal classrooms. The rest of it are things like science labs, art rooms, media labs, e-lab. There's a culinary kitchen and there's a servery kitchen and cafeteria, wood shop, performing arts center, a gym, locker rooms. There's just all these different types of areas that they are responsible for, each kind of requiring a different style of floor, a different way of cleaning. So I think it's important to kind of look at the totality of, go ahead and go back one slide, of what we're asking them to do with all these beautiful new facilities, and that they don't have the same amount of hours that they had last year. So I want to put that out there and thank them for keeping this place looking beautiful. All right, we have 2 administrative assistants, one that is stationed up here at MHS and one at the community school. Obviously not a complete list of things, but first and foremost, they are dealing with everything that comes in and out of that office, whether it's a parent need or a student need, whether it's kids needing a paper printed out for their college class or whatever it might be. There's data entry, there's grade reporting, there's, in high school you have transcripts and a whole amount of paperwork that you need to interface with colleges and things like that. So we have Marcy at the high school and Kamala at the community school, and you can see they have some other individual, like Marcy deals largely with the CTE data, Kamala does payroll, is helping us onboard our college and career portal, the CCGI, which is a new, we got in early, but now it's a state requirement, so everyone will be doing it. And both of them, Kamala is also a member of the community school. that is its own semi-autonomous school, and she's a big part of morning meeting and doing all those things as well. In fact, I think if it wasn't for that part, that right there, that's why she's here. So both of them are dealing with basically everything that's coming in and out of their buildings. Okay. Noah is our AD with a lot of other things. So I just took a picture of the poster on his door to show some of those other things. But primarily, he is our athletic director and our behavior specialist, which means he deals with all the low-level stuff so it doesn't go immediately to the principal's office. But he also does attendance, he tracks truancy, and we meet every other week about those issues. Some of the other things, state testing, he does the scholarships. So like today he was working on the website, getting all the scholarships ready for the students. And he does the open gym at lunchtime. So those are a few of the things that he is responsible for. Okay? And then in the resource room, we have 4 paras. 2 of them, they rotate, but we have 2 full-time one-on-ones, 2 students that require full attention. So they will rotate through that to give each other lunch breaks. They also cover math, English, history, science classes. We currently have 20 students. We have 1 that'll graduate our 22-year-old, 18, 22-year-old program, so we'll go down to 19. We have 10 504 students, and of course they're in classrooms, so they're helping gen ed students as well. Okay, so I just wanted to get to that in a second. I just wanted to highlight those classified. I know Josh does a wonderful job highlighting the CTA members, and again, there's Brahm and Travis, and we have Ruben on special assignment, and there's Diana and Trish and Isabel. There's all the bus drivers, there's a lot of them, but these are the ones that are only at our site. So I just wanted to clarify that, okay? And I just wanted to end with this. I took a stab at this. You'll see this was just today. I used a model, and I put them out on the upper site here. And I was going off of Emily's, I can't believe it because it's huge, but 20 feet on either side of the middle post to me is a huge structure, but that's what the number I had. So go ahead, next slide. So there's a 6-foot tall person, and so the bottom corner, right there would be the bottom corner, is 12 feet, and Noah is standing 20 feet off of that fence. So the posts are, because it's slanted, who knows, it's not perfect, right? But technically, if those posts were right there, it would be going out 20 feet from that fence. So it's hard to say exactly where it would go, and I don't know what angle they have it at. It might be more, it might be less than that. But I want to just put that out there, because I've been saying this for a long time, that we need to kind of get a feel for how big these are. I don't think the issue is, we can see through, it's not blocking the ocean. I think looking down at the parking lot, the other one, I don't think it'll block the ocean either. It'll come in, block the playing field from up top. But I just want to put out there, this is big. If that's the dimensions, these are big things, and it's going to change the vibe if it is in that place. So, you say, it's not affecting the ocean view because you can see under it, but it's just a large structure. I don't even know if we're allowed to put something like that. We weren't allowed to have the gazebo within a certain distance from the school, according to DSA. So I don't know what the offsets are for
the
that.
gazebo was not a DSA-approved
Right.
construction.
That could be one of the reasons. I know Mark was saying, well, it's too close to the school, as though it could have been okay if it wasn't right next to the school. So it fell within the school thing. But obviously this would have to be DSA approved.
Right.
And apparently maybe hurricane and tornado approved if you saw the footage from Santa Cruz this past week. Anyways, just trying to bring it to life a little bit with that and, give you guys something to chew on. So, all right, thank you. Any questions?
Did you do you didn't do that same thing for below?
I was gonna do it, and there was a cement truck and work trucks down there, so I was unable to do that down below. Would be curious to, and maybe have kind of better idea of what angles and sort of to take of looking at it. I did use 1-point perspective to try to pull that off, but I realized I don't know what the tilt of the thing is, so it made it pretty hard to
I know they
try to
asked me
make
that
it.
at one point, but I don't remember the angle, the tilt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's somewhere.
I think it's probably less than 52 degrees, which is what the optimal angle
Yeah.
is, which is pretty, you know,
Because
that's
it's
more than
made-
45. There's no way it's that.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah. All right, thank you.
One other comment, I just really appreciate you bringing staff members into the story, and Josh also. It really is helpful.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to all the staff members.
Yes,
Definitely
absolutely.
deserve that
Less than 20.
Yeah.
recognition, acknowledgement. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Tobin.
So, let me just dive in. So speaking of the solar project, the RFPs were due last Friday, so all of them should be in. I know that Sage and NB5 is reviewing them, and then on their timeline here, they have potential interviews this Friday, and then a notification to the top-ranked firm on Friday the 27th, with the hope that contract negotiations will be done by January 20th, with board approval in February. So that's their timeline.
What is our involvement in the interview process?
So I haven't heard a thing. So it seems like if they had an interview, we would be involved, but I haven't. It said potential, so I'll reach out, but they haven't communicated with us yet.
So we don't know how many people applied?
No. And then,
Since we won't meet again until January, would you send an email out and you find out the answers to those questions?
negotiations have started with the MTA, and we're hoping to get CMIS on the book soon. We had to cancel 2 meetings because of various weather-related issues. And then finally, speaking of, acknowledging staff members, we're going to do it again, but we have Diane Price and Trish Evans retiring from the cafeteria after 30-some years in the cafeteria. So they've been mainstays there, and we have interviews scheduled for this Thursday. We have 2 candidates for the manager position and 1 for the cook position. We're hoping to get them on as soon as possible so they can begin the training.
So the plan is to have them work side by side for a full semester?
Yeah, and we had it in the budget. That's all I have.
Great. Any questions for Jason? All right, MTA. Welcome, Josh.
Thank you. All right, so I don't really have any big updates other than the teacher spotlight again. I've gotten really positive feedback, and I really appreciate what you guys have shared, that you enjoy it, because I talked to Jason about it to make sure I wasn't like overextending, and he's like, no, you just talk really fast, so I'll try to go a little bit slower. I appreciate that. But I do want to acknowledge we have 2 teachers, Derek Hutchinson and Carolyn Barrett, aka Chef. They didn't get their thing in time enough to send it back, so I just have 1. But I just wanted to acknowledge for Derek, he was nominated, what had been said about him, because I don't know if I'll get the thing back. He's been here a long time, creating and contributing to the culture of our school and district in such a positive way. And then for Carolyn, her program is such an integral part of our school. She's incredible with our students and enables them to do so much incredible things. The respect and love that her students have for her is palpable, and she always seems to, like she authentically enjoys it. So just want to recognize them, and hopefully we get the feedback, and if they don't, that's fine too. Teachers got a lot going on. But then I do want to throw it back to our Mr. Marshall Brown, who let me know that he does not like have the spotlight shone on him, so I'll try to go as moderately as possible. But I'm a huge fan. And so I did want to share, the person that nominated him wrote, he is hardworking, helps in so many ways, meets students with kindness, support, patience, and is able to also hold boundaries with them. This isn't always easy, but does it with grace and patience. So for Marshall, it's his 13th year teaching with the district. He is a former MUSD student, so I kind of joked with him, he is a hometown hero by a long shot. It's really cool. His primary duties, he is the Media Lab teacher, so that includes broadcast production, video production, and music production, which my daughter is in. KAKX general manager and chief operator. And then for his secondary stipend duties, I just want to include all the things that he covers on there, which is CTE coordinator at the high school, psych tech for the high school, learning leadership, class advisor, district tech support for events, radio club advisor, band club advisor, and summer radio coordinator. And so I wanted to point out his CTE is CTE Arts, Media, and Entertainment credential, and he's currently working towards the Information Technology Associates of Science, and that can offer dual enrollment course through the media program, which I think is really amazing. So I also had a daughter who's now in college that benefited from those dual enrollments, and so I appreciate that opportunity because what you do, Marshall, is so important to our students. Also want to say, the radio station, KAKX, is amazing. I think we almost hit the point of like 10,000 people streaming from throughout the world this last month is really incredible. And to see them when we have our radio shows pop up from like Brazil and Russia and Germany is really amazing to see. But something to know about him, it doesn't stop. It's 24/7. He is always on it. If anything goes wrong, he has to be there. And so even leaving the county is a big deal because he has to have somebody here to coordinate that. So yeah, it's a lot for him to take care of. His favorite parts of the day, he put 3, and I thought this was so beautiful. My favorite part of the school day is when students are actively working in the media lab, especially when there's a live radio show happening. It's a fun feeling to see students express themselves in their interests. It's a bit wild running around to each studio to give feedback, solve technical problems, or deal with any of the other teacher scenarios that come up during the 90-minute class periods. However, it is a blast to see projects come together when a student feels proud of what they've created, and I can't describe the feeling that I get. So I thought that was beautiful. And then B, I thought this was really nice. Since last December, he's enjoyed coming to the school to help manage the production of our morning radio show program. I arrive on campus at 7:30 to 7:35, make sure students who are responsible for the show has everything they need, and then we go live from 7:45 to 8:15. No one else is generally here except Roy, May, and Marcy, and it's an extremely peaceful time of the day. And I just want to say how much I appreciate that too. I don't know if anybody has tuned into the morning shows, but they're so, our wonderful hosts and Eli. Man, it is really cool to get those updates. And as a parent, I really appreciate it because I hear all kinds of things that I don't normally tune into because I don't read my emails as often as I should. And I just want to point out the third thing. My other favorite part of the school day, at least once a week, is our staff meetings. I thought this was incredible. I feel that Tobin creates an immensely collaborative atmosphere, and for the most part, like 98% of the time, we can deal with most things that come our way as a staff with ease. It's a time I cherish a lot, and the people who work here truly care about our students and make my job even more of joy because of that. And so what a shout out to the principal and the admin team going there that you enjoy those staff meetings. It's a powerful time. I just want to give a few of the shout outs that he did because he's, one thing I like about Marshall, he's like, it's not about him. He's always about the collaborative process. And so theoretically, it's how I like to do things. And so he's a wonderful model for it. So he wanted to give a shout out to his wife, Emily Brown. And so I think that's amazing. She helps ground him, bring him back. And then also his parents for always being there and remembering him to slow down. And then the high school team, they're solid as a rock, humble and honored to be a part of that. Tobin and Jason both got shout outs for always having his back and supporting him, especially when he switched his schedule around for a few years ago to allow more time to manage the actual day-to-day operations of the radio station. That saved about 6 to 8 hours of work weekly that he was taking home on the weekends. So that was really cool to have the admin support there. Also, the CTE teaching cohort, we saw the pictures on there and how important that is to our students and the amazing things they're outputting. And then we got Canute, Frey, Max, Eli, Joaquin, and Pablo for exemplifying epic behaviors as student leaders in the station. I'm continuously blown away by what I hear on the radio with you guys. And then the KAKX general managers, which includes myself and John and Noah. So we were able to back things up. So he's kind of trained us so he can leave the county and do things like he does during the summer fur camp. So anyways, that's all I have. Marshall, thanks very much. Appreciate it. And then any questions from anybody? No? Cool. All right, thanks all.
One thing that you mentioned, Josh, really rang a bell for me, which is the pride that the kids have in sharing their work. I've been on multiple van rides for soccer games where I've had different kids want to play a podcast that they did while listening to his podcast in the van, or play some rap songs that they wrote and produced with their friends. And then one day we just got to turn on KZYX and listen to a pre-recorded show that one of our soccer players had done, and was being played that Friday evening on our drive home, which was super cool. And both bands were listening to the KZYX show. So thank you, Marshall. It means the world to those kids. All right. Anyone else got anything? Do we have anyone from CMS on tonight?
I see no one.
Okay, let's move on to board trustee reports. Mia, just so you know, this is a time when if any board member has anything they want to share, either it's something they've been working on as a board member or something they participated in the community that they want to share, or have any thoughts. This is a time for board members to do that. So maybe I'll start with Mark this time and see if
Nothing for me tonight.
Okay.
I'll pass.
Nothing right now.
Okay. I was excited to see the work getting started out on the soccer field and the track, and the progress being made there, as well as the parking lot down there and the portables being gone. Thank you, Lynn Spirit and Jason, everybody worked on that, and Don. Attended the CT Winter Showcase. It was amazing. I brought home 2 beautiful ceramic pieces that I thought I was going to give away as gifts, and I cannot part with them. One of them was made by a soccer player I had, and there's no way anyone else is going to have it. So just some of the wonderful things I've gotten to do lately. Mia, anything you want to add? Or you?
No.
Okay, wonderful. Okay. I'm going to skip over the timed item, because that's a 6 o'clock item, so that may end up being, and move on to item number 10. 10.1 is the board organizational meeting. So this is the meeting of the year where we swear in new trustees. We have board elections for officers, and sort of pass the torch, and then choose committees as well for the following year. So Mia, you've already been sworn in, but this year, because of the election this year, we have 3 trustees who were reelected or who ran unopposed, and so we're swearing them in, and that's Mark, Michael, and Winsor. So I'll turn it over to Jason.
Yeah, so I guess instead of doing them all individually, if you don't mind, I'll just change the I's to we's, and then at the end you can say, I will.
Okay.
Or I do, if you're feeling matrimonious. All right. So do you solemnly swear that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that you take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which you are about to enter?
I do.
I do.
I do.
All right. Thanks. We can sign them afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Item 10.1.2 is the board elections for president, clerk, and the official appointment of the superintendent, Jason, as secretary to the board. So this means I've served my term as president, and I think generally the clerk, which currently wins Spirit, then becomes the president the following year. So I think, I don't know exactly, I don't know who the next clerk is usually.
Well, I think it depends, and
Yeah.
you know,
Reappoint or
Yeah.
nominate.
I think we nominate at this point. I mean, I think the quandary this time, you know, is you want to have a certain amount of experience before you do it. So, you know, I mean, I think if Lisa had served, I might have said it was Lisa's turn, but I don't want to subject Maya to doing that straight off the bat. And Mark has served as clerk twice without going on to be.
Right. I still would like to not go on to be
So
president.
you know. So but do you want to be clerk?
I'm willing to be clerk. I'm not willing to go on as the traditional.
Right.
I'd like to see you do it, both. And I think personally you should do it or step down. Because it just, I've thought about this quite a bit. Change is important, but also commitment to this board. And it's very clear that that's our responsibilities. And I agree with you 100%, Michael, that expecting a new member to step into that role doesn't make sense. And I really encourage you to consider, and why you're refusing to fulfill that role that we've all fulfilled.
I appreciate your frankness. I'm glad you spoke up, and it's just something I prefer not to do.
Well,
So does that influence who you want to have as clerk? I mean, I've thought about this too, and I'm willing to become clerk and in the following year become board president, but I'm also willing to have Mark become clerk and get that that difference in the advisory, meetings with the superintendent, and then we decide at the end of next year who the board president is, because there's not going to be a natural
right.
thing. But I wanted to clarify with Mark that at this point, his intention is the same as it was before, and I thought your response was good, because I agree with it. I think that the board would benefit by your being board president at least once. So,
Well, we can approach it again next year. I'm willing to be clerk. That's as far as I'll go.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'd like to see you be clerk and participate in the agenda setting, which is the major role there.
Yeah,
I
sure.
think it's an important part of it, so, and we'll cross the next bridge when we get to it.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with, excuse me, I'm fine with that.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we establish Wind Spirit as board president, and Mark Morton as clerk, and Jason as our official secretary of the board.
I'll second. Do you have any other comments or before we vote? All right.
Student trustee Kinsler,
Yes.
trustee Floyd,
Yes.
trustee Morton.
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer.
Yes.
Trustee Ohm,
Yes.
trustee Griffin.
Yes. All right, with that, I think maybe we switch seats, yeah?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Just gavels.
Can we just stay?
Yeah.
Let's just stay.
This one's already won.
Okay. So then we're on to committees, is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And can we kind of round robin this?
That's been our
think it's
practice the
done.
last few times. Everybody goes through and takes a first choice and then a second choice.
I guess
We're doing that by seniority order.
seniority on the board.
Yeah.
That'll be you first then, I think.
Right.
Okay.
So I would get my first choice.
All right.
and
I'm fine with continuing in that manner.
You're the boss.
No, I think that, my,
And we have, hold on, we have facility, they're on here. Hey,
Right.
Facilities,
MCN,
MCN, which may end at some point.
finance, those are the three main.
And for finance, we have 2 trustees plus an alternate,
Right.
generally.
So anyway, I'll take it as my first choice, the finance committee.
And I think you would be next, Mark?
Well, I think there should be some continuity on MCN, but I would also do finance. I think I've done facilities recently. I guess I would say finance or MCN, depending on other people's preferences.
I want to make sure that either you or Michael stay on MCN, and maybe both of you, since we're sort of we're midstream, and changing out a rower might not make
Yeah.
sense, because you can already know what's
Right,
going on.
yeah, I agree.
My personal preference is to stay on facilities, and I've been on finance before and understand that. I'm happy to do that also, or just do facilities, since they're sort of a weird number.
So unless somebody else wants MCN badly, are you saying you're not going to do MCN?
No, I was saying I was going to let everybody else go through their first choices, and if,
Oh, I thought you already picked one. Okay.
I just picked
Yeah,
my
he said-
first
he
choice.
said finance for
Oh.
number 1, right? Is it-
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I'll say MCN is my first choice.
okay. So I think I'm next. I'm gonna stick on facilities. I feel like it's really been my primary contribution to this board almost the entire time I've been here, and I'm looking at seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, but I'd like to stick on it.
I'd like to stick on facilities as well, since we're sort of hold on projects.
I think you guys are doing a good job.
Okay. So Mia, so did you catch the list there? So there's basically 3 different committees, and each committee meets once a month, sometimes a little more. And And there's finance, MCN, facilities, although it looks like facilities is full. So then MCN, which is Mendocino Community Network, or finance.
I'll do finance.
Okay. So that fills that one up, right? I'm sorry, I went the wrong one here. I said finance, so that's you two. Which one do we need to back up on? We need to back up for MCN. Okay, so,
We need the alternate for finance.
or finance rather, sorry.
So does that
Okay.
mean basically that
So
Michael and Mark are both still on both finance? No, Mark, you weren't
Well,
on
so-
finance before.
So,
I haven't been for a while.
right. So Michael, you could choose, you can't choose the same one twice.
I can't.
Doesn't really give you, puts you.
I could even pass and only do one.
Yeah, you could pass and do one.
You've got 2 people per MCN and 2 people.
Well, no, we don't have a second
You
MCN
have 2
yet.
people for.
We have two on finance, Mia and you,
Right. And Mark's on
and
MCN.
Mark's on MCN, and then we have 2 over here on facilities. So
Okay.
we're lacking one for the, one
And
more
an
for
alternate
MCN.
for the finance.
And an alternate for finance, exactly.
Sure, I'll do MCN, finish it out.
Okay. So then we just need the backup for finance.
Right.
Does anyone want that position?
I'll take the backup.
So do we have a second finance already? Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
Mia's the
Mia,
second.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yep.
We're all good then.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
So just
Mark's back.
given this, that the makeup is pretty similar for all these committees, we'll stick with the same 2:15 on Mondays before the board meeting for MCN, and then 3:30 for finance. So
Via Zoom.
So the finance committee is typically at 3:30. It's a Zoom call at the Monday before the board meeting. So I'll meet with you and email all of this to you.
Okay.
Again, facilities is usually kind of we'll determine it around that time.
Yep.
Work
It's been a moving
schedules.
target.
Yep. Okay, great.
Okay. All right, does that wrap up 10-1-3? Anything else? Any other business? I think so, that's it, yep. Okay, 10-2. Dawn, I think you're with us remotely?
Yes, can you hear me all?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great, nice to see you. Thank you for taking me remotely. I've been kind of bopping around everywhere today. Anyway, rather than do the slideshow, you've got the report in front of you, and I think I'll just wing it with the report and hit me with questions as we go. But probably the best news, the end of November, we got rid of those modulars. That was a real ordeal, and I got to thank everybody that participated on getting Caltrans and CHP and everybody else on the same page. So they disappeared last week in November. I would say Latham was pretty fast at getting their crews reorganized and getting out there to do the field work. I gave them like 3 false starts on that, and they had to keep calling back the site guys. Say, no, we're not quite ready yet. They're not gone. So when they really were gone, they didn't say we're crying wolf. They got there and they started to work. I was real pleased with that. They did all the grading already, and they poured the slab or poured the flat work today. So they're getting to a good point on the site work. What remains is tomorrow they'll level out some of the dirt around the edges, the groundwork. What's going to have to wait until we get better weather is the asphalt, because this time of the year the asphalt comes from Ukiah, and it's got to stay hot from Ukiah to here, hot enough to spread. So I don't really have a firm date when they're going to come back for the asphalt until we get a firmer idea of when the weather's going to be better. And you all know Mendocino weather better than I do. So hopefully they'll come around fast. Other than the site work, the generator got installed, which is great. There was a component on it that failed or didn't function, so they ordered a new component. They received that and they put it in, and it's still not working. So they're ordering a new control panel for it. It befuddles me. It takes them a year to build the thing, and then they can't get all the parts to work. At any rate, the replacement of the control panels on order should be probably here next week, and they'll shake it out. I think they were able to do the training regardless of it not functioning. I know the training got delayed the first go around, but I think they went ahead and did the training after the second go around. Other than that, the mechanical and electrical engineers are coming out and doing back punch lists or new or fresh punch lists. Alvin, the electrical engineer, is going to be there tomorrow. I'll probably run into him. HVAC was out there or it's going to be out there tomorrow to tweak it some more. And we got to have more testing and balancing, just fine tuning the system basically. And then the other thing that's going to be happening is, if you recall, the fire alarm in the tech centers, the speakers are kind of garbled. It was functioning at one time and now they're all garbled. So next Monday and Tuesday, the fire alarm subcontractors can come out and shake out what's going on with that. Anyway, we're trying to get it all shaken out and get done so that we can moonwalk out of here and leave phase 3 for Jason. But it's coming. It's just a slow slug, but it's coming. Oh, the other one item that I'd like to see happen faster than it has, one of the induction ovens isn't working. They try to get Lathrop's guy fix it remotely. It didn't work, so Lathrop is pushing hard to get somebody over there to get on site and look at why the oven's not working, because the poor class has, I don't know, 12 or 15 students are all vying for one oven at this point now, not two. So I'm leaning in on trying to get them to get somebody out there to get the oven functioning. It's brand new. It should be functioning. So I think that's where we're at. We haven't had any talks on closing out the job financially, so the financials haven't changed. We did ask for a couple ads like door guards on some of the doors in the gym that have wide gaps where somebody can maybe stick a putty knife in and open the door. So we're adding some, it's pretty small incidental ads as we shake out the living it with the two buildings. That's pretty much where we are. I think I want to commend Tobin for some nice graphics there for the solar. That was some nice Photoshop work.
Thanks, Don. Questions for Don? On the board, anyone? No. Anyone in the audience, comments, questions? All right, thank you, Don.
All right, thank you. Might see some of you tomorrow. And hopefully we'll be shaking it out soon. Talk to you guys later.
Okay.
Bye.
10-3, Mendocino High School's climate action. Mendocino Community High School, senior Annabelle, is it Guinion? Guinan, excuse me, thank you.
I have some signatures I'd like to present to the board.
You can skip to A and pass it around. Thank you.
And I also have some extra resolutions if anyone needs any. I'll put these right here. Hi, I'm Annabelle Guinan. I'm a senior at the Mendocino Community High School, and I'm also the comm school representative on ASB. I created this resolution to strengthen our community and reduce our ecological footprint through a more efficient way of composting and recycling our waste. I'd like to thank some people. I've had some help with the Northern California Youth Policy Coalition, which I'm a founding member of, and a few of our students are members of as well, which is a coalition dedicated to uplifting rural youth voices, because we feel that it's important to have our voices heard on that level. And then I'd also like to thank the California Youth Climate Policy Leadership Program. My mentor, Jamie, is right there, which has helped me write this policy and show me the legalities of it and just gone through the process with me, which has been an amazing experience. And we also have Charlene and Cindy from League of Women Voters here, and then Knut, Zev, Addie are in the Environmental Club, which have been helpful as well, so I want to thank them for coming. And the CYCP inspired me to revive the Environmental Club, so we've been getting that active. If you go to the next slide, please. The goals of this resolution is to reduce our school's waste output and our management in programs, especially in our culinary program, because I found that our culinary program isn't composting to the capacity that I believe we're capable of as a school. As you can see in this little diagram I have up here, food waste in our trash creates a lot of carbon dioxide, but if we put our food waste in organic waste bins, it creates compost and other green products. And the EPA estimated that each year U.S. food loss and waste embodies 170 million metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent, which is equivalent to 19 billion gallons of gas. Imagine how much money that is, guys, like $5 a gallon. And if you go to the next slide, please. As you can see in these photos, a lot of our students don't really know how to recycle, with a lot of our recycling stuff being put in the trash or trash being put in the recycling. And I think a reason for this is that I've talked to many students and they don't know that we recycle as a school. There's a misconception around that. They believe that the recycling is just going to the trash, but that's just because trash is going in the recycling, so you can't put it in the recycling if there's trash in it. And the Environmental Club is planning to do a trash audit in January or February to try and see exactly what's going in the recycling and what's going in the trash, and seeing where we really need to concentrate on that waste output. And then we are planning to do one at the end of the year just to see if we've made any progress on that. And what tends to happen is people with climate change, they tend to look at the big picture and feel like there isn't really anything that they can do to help out. But if we encourage recycling and composting, every time they recycle and they compost, they're being more proactive, and they're seeing that they can make a difference on our local scale. And I'd also like to say our horticulture and botany programs have a smaller scale composting program, but for that to work, they have to take out citrus and foods like meat scraps for animals, and that's not really efficient for the culinary programs, or even if we put one in our cafeterias, because students can't be expected to uphold that level of sorting out their compost. So fixing this gap is essential for our proper waste program to happen. And in a time when climate change can feel so overwhelming, small, meaningful steps like reducing waste empowers us to take action. And then ways to implement this. There's two parts to my resolution. The first is the composting and implementing this aspect. And I define organic waste as yard trimmings, wood waste, food scraps, food soiled paper. And I think that if we partner with a waste management program like CNS Pacific's Organic Solutioning and get a green waste bin on our campus, then we'll be able to do that efficient, like emptying it out at the end of the day and trying to educate our students on what to put in that, because it's not the janitor's responsibility to be sorting through that, so it's really up to the students to uphold that, just kind of giving them the resources to learn and how we can do that. And then for the second part is education. And so, as I said before, many students are unaware of what goes in the recycling and what goes in the compost. So a way we could remedy this is labeling our bins clearly. Because in some classrooms, it's hard to tell which bins are what. So there's a lot of confusion around that. Or do I rinse out this container? Is this wrapping recyclable? Or we could even implement canned recycling, because I know that high schoolers drink a lot of the yerba mate cans or other energy drinks, and a lot of those are going in the trash. So, and the K8 does do the cans for money, I believe, on the weekends. I don't know exactly which one. So a club or an organization could take advantage of that. Environmental Club is thinking about that and take that up and trying to be a bit more proactive with that. And we could also, the Environmental Club is down to help make posters and little infographics explaining what goes in each can and helping label that to help that be more efficient. And then if we go to my next slide, I'd like to thank you all for giving me the time to speak today, and I'm excited to see what we as a district can do to combat climate change, and I hope that by passing this resolution or working with a way to implement it in some way, we can create that change. And I also wanted to express our appreciation for the school board's efforts to make our school greener through those solar panels that were mentioned earlier. Thank you. If you have any questions.
I have a question. Did you do any research on what local restaurants and stuff are doing with their green waste?
From the research I could do, through the CNS, their website, it's mostly offered to restaurants. I don't think I work at the Ledford House and we don't compost either, though I believe there is a state law stating that they should be, so maybe it's with the metric tons. But I'd have to look into exactly what the logistics are with restaurants.
Well, I mean, I guess where I'm going with this is that it seems to me that you know, the issue of what we do with our green waste is going to be a lot easier to solve if we're part of another effort that's, you know, at least Mendocino village-wide.
Yeah.
And I just wondered if that would be something that your group would be interested in getting some data about. You know,
Yeah.
How are they dealing with green waste? Are they just treating it with all their other trash and it's going into the landfill? Or, you know, there are certain cities that require green waste to be collected separately. But I don't think any maybe in Ukiah they do that, but I don't think the haulers, you know, that serve, you know, Mendocino County are required to do that, or what they actually offer. I mean, I know I live in an
I don't
area.
think that's true, Michael. I don't have trash service, but I'm pretty sure you get a green waste bin pretty much automatically when you have trash service.
Okay, I don't have my trash picked up.
I have
so-
a green waste bin
Right.
at my house.
Right.
Okay.
Right, it comes with your trash service?
Yeah.
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 And
And all
it's-
my green trash goes into the compost, so,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, but we'd be interested in asking around the restaurants, maybe conducting a survey and seeing exactly what they do and if we could implement that in our school.
Yeah.
I appreciate you bringing this to our attention. I think the implementation is the challenge. It's easy for us to all sit here and say, yeah, we agree, great, sign off. The burden upon you all students and admin to actually implement, and how many different locations where there's trash receptacles across the school, and figuring out how to make that happen. I can tell you're thinking about it, and I think that will be the challenge, assuming we all support this.
Yeah, I think the easy part is the education part, the labeling of things, and I agree at both school sites, I think it's not as clear as it could be, and that could be improved a lot. So and I applaud you for taking that on. The compost part, the food waste part is harder.
Yeah.
Because I compost at home, I compost food waste, and it can be messy, it can get gross quickly, animals can get into it. So depending on how you're doing it, you have to think through that. And if it's just a single source, like by the kitchen, would then kids who are finishing their meals actually, would you have other, compost here during the lunch hour that would be added to it? And, there's a lot of things to be thinking through there.
Yeah, and I was talking with Carolyn about the culinary program, and at the end of their classes, they have chores which go into their grade, and what the culinary program could do to keep up their composting is at the end of each class, they just empty it as a part of their chore, and just incorporate that into an aspect of their program.
Definitely.
Yeah, and a lot of times you can just, use a stainless steel bowl,
Yeah,
throw
just
all the food scraps
yeah.
in, you go dump it in.
Yeah.
Another thing you might want to consider is something we do at our house is a composter that you can, an electronic composter that you put food waste into, and it can create sort of pre-compost that maybe then the horticulture program could use. So that might be something to look into, and it might be something as part of the modernization project that the bond funding.
How much
based
volume
could
can you
support.
take in one of those things? Is that like the difference between a paper shredder and a
Basically a paper shredder with food in it, yeah.
And do you put meat in it as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the bones, but everything else, yeah. Citrus meat can go into it,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is nice.
That would solve the
Yeah.
issue with the
Along
no
with other
citrus, no
stuff, and
meat.
it becomes
Yeah.
something you can then add to your compost.
Yeah.
So that might be something where you now are composting here on site and using it for the horticulture department. So that might be something.
Oh, yeah, that'd be really cool to implement.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead of having it trucked away.
Yeah.
I understand the horticulture department's challenges. On the other hand, I would love to see a directive that it's imperative to figure it out. Because while sending it over the hill or wherever it goes in a bin is better than it going in a landfill, I don't believe it's really the solution. It really should stay on site or close to site and be dealt with, I think, as far as the environmental footprint. That's the ultimate solution.
Yeah.
But that would have to come from admin as a directive that, hey, this is going to have to be part of the curriculum to figure out how to do this, or some other part of the school. Mark was very interested in this modernization being a teachable project, and unfortunately, the way that the regulations are, it's so complicated and sophisticated, there really isn't that much that's particularly easily teachable. But when you go to how things are composted, I think it is teachable, and I would love to see it happen. Other board comments or questions?
Well, I guess it gets to the issue of the resolution. I thank you for drafting for us. You know, is your suggestion that we give it to staff to see how realistic the implementation is?
I don't know. I haven't gotten quite there yet.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I like it in principle, and we can vote if, staff's going to tell us if it's not implementable, I imagine, if we pass it. Like I said, it's easy for us to, I read it earlier today, and I appreciate, while we're talking about it, anyone out here want to comment? Or I don't know if there's anyone online, Aaron, that wants to comment?
Come up and...
Go ahead, Josh.
I just want to say, literacy with our younger students in K would be really helpful. So I saw your bins. Sorry, Aaron, thank you. Yeah, our bins, compared to my students are always struggling for recyclable and that, and we don't really have a plan for what to do with them once we do sort them. So that might be something to think about too with your club. What you guys, coming to the school and helping our guys get it going, so it will fall through at the high school. So
Yeah, we'd definitely be interested in that. Yeah.
That's a great idea, because the earlier kids learn anything, the more likely it is to stick, especially when you're trying to change major social norms and habits.
And sorry, but also for our cool high school kids too. The impact you would have on the younger guys would be awesome. So.
Who is our waste carrier?
I think it's all the same. It used to be Waste Management, now it's CNS, which I think was a regional, but I heard was bought out, and they're a giant conglomerate, I think, now. I don't think they're any, I looked at their website, they tried to be very groovy, but I think they're just another big trash company, basically.
I think it's a really bad website, frankly. Very inaccessible.
And unless you're trying to focus primarily on the high school as opposed to the K-8 side, because there's, the K-8 cafeteria, as I understand it, makes the food for lunch every day. So is that within your scope, or are you trying to start on the side?
Starting small would probably be ideal, but it would be pretty amazing to be able to branch out to the K-8 and focus on that. Though I am graduating this year, so I'd have to find a good crew of people that would continue it on after I graduated to create a plan that's sustainable and that will keep happening and won't peter out towards the end.
I know that the K-8 is doing this great new program where they're doing a lot of community service projects, which Kim could speak to better than I could. But they might be able to tie this into what they're working on as well. So you might be able to find a crew at the middle school who can take it on.
Yeah, my sister's always talking about all the different community service they're doing.
When I read this more thoroughly, you basically have 4 bullets here, sections, and some of them are broader and some of them are very specific. And maybe we want to approve this in theory and then ask for staff to delve into it and see how it might actually be implemented. Because it's, for example, your number 2, be it further resolved that in-district food services will maximize the distribution of all remaining waste, including foodware that goes to compost, and increase the use of produce that is locally sourced and minimally processed or packaged while taking advantage of on-campus gardens, therefore providing clean, healthy food. Sounds good. It's a big order.
Yeah.
And again, it's easy for us to...
Right. Is it like an unfunded mandate?
Exactly.
I say you approve it, and then we report back what we're doing.
I mean, we are...
How we can get better.
I don't know but our longtime food service person is leaving, and we're going to be hiring someone new. Great opportunity.
We are,
to dovetail.
At the K-8, they use the green bins extensively, and they actually have, a custodian is there on staff during lunch, and he's actually there sorting as they go. So the kids aren't just dumping willy-nilly. So he is sorting it, and But I don't think we're doing very much composting, but we are using the green bins and trying to recycle.
In the gardens that I am.
Okay.
The kids work with it, spin the compost regularly, and I think that is reused in the gardens there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not taking all the compost, the amount of material that would come out of the cafeteria would be too much, so. Interesting problem to solve. For that, and I think that there is interest in the community service. I've heard many different grade levels talk about both organizing the recycling and garbage and taking on composting and raising a worm farm to help that process. So there is definitely interest in there that could be passed along. But
Is there anywhere in the K-12 curriculum at this point where, for example, you look at what plastic type 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is, where it tends to go? Is there really much curriculum on this in any books or programs?
not that specific that I'm aware of.
I would wager that everybody in this room has a different view
Yeah.
on what you can recycle.
It's true.
I would
It's-
agree.
It's a hot
I mean,
topic at the
it's-
K.
It's tough.
And the recycling,
Yeah.
I mean, the CNS and the Casper dump, they tell you nothing. And every person who works there has a different answer when you ask, can you recycle a milk
Right.
carton or not?
Right.
And it's a big deal.
Yeah, I actually have a survey here that's sort of along those lines. If you could pull that up, Aaron, as Aaron runs.
Thanks for doing that.
I was too quick on the draw.
Mark, you were asking questions about curriculum, and then the last point on her resolution is very much about curriculum, also more on a.
All right, so the first question here, do you recycle? 90% of people, they said that they do recycle. And 9.1% people say no. And then for the next one?
That was how many respondents?
22.
This is 22.
So we got 90% of 10% of the student body, right?
Of the sample size. And then, would you be interested in our school food waste being composted? You can see the large percentage there would be interested, 90% of our sample size. And then for the next one here, do you know what should go in the recycling can at school? So sort of along the lines of what we were just talking about. The big one, the red one, 59%, I think I know. And then the blue one, I am certain that I know. And then the green one is no, they don't know.
And the people in the blue are wrong.
And then for this one is, do you know what should go in the compost? The blue says, I'm certain that I know. The red says, I think I know. The yellow, I have an idea. And the green, no. But Annabelle is probably along those lines of, yeah, people probably don't know.
But in actuality, they probably think they know, but then will throw their plastic water bottle, which is, in my opinion, one of the easiest things to recycle, in the trash, as you saw in my photos.
And this last one is, do you support our school implementing a more comprehensive recycling system than is currently implemented? You can see the big 95% is yes, but I guess that 5% said no.
One of those
But.
people who doesn't recycle.
That's all.
I was just looking over this because in this conversation, it made me think about the old catchphrase, reduce, reuse, recycle. Those first two are the ones that are really the most important. The recycle, when this stuff is being trucked to who knows where, piled who knows where, shipped who knows where, I don't really consider it a true solution, personally. It's like a stopgap, kinda, maybe getting there. So I was just reading over if, I don't see that you really hit that bullet point necessarily. But if, in terms of implementation, that's where I would really love to see if it's possible that the food waste can stay within the community, if not on campus, someone that will compost it. There are a few medium-sized farms around here. I don't know. But
I mean, in Ukiah, what is it, Cold Creek
Compost.
Compost has built a business of collecting.
I think that's where a lot of this stuff may end up.
Uh-huh.
Like if you go to the Casper dump and take your green waste, I'm pretty sure that's where it goes. CNS may take all their stuff. Because anyone that does composting, you have to balance carbonaceous with nitrogenous material. You can't have all of one or the other and have compost.
Didn't there used to be a farmer, I don't recall who, but I was told that in some time long ago in the Mendocino history of the farm, there used to be a farmer that would come and pick up the compost and then maybe bring it back. I don't know if
I'm sure there was
that's-
many.
yeah.
I raised pigs at one time, and I used to get scraps from restaurants, and I know many other people have done that. But it's a lot of effort, and
Yeah.
people stop doing it. Does anyone want to make a motion to approve this or otherwise?
Well, I guess I'm caught between supporting the idea and then wanting to, on one hand, thinking it's a lot to expect without some details in terms of how we're going to implement it. And on the other hand, thinking boy, it would be great if it was even bigger. I mean, if we could find a way of spearheading, a Cold Creek compost for the coast and not have that trucking all the way to, Redwood Valley or wherever they are.
Well, there's no penalties for non-implementation listed here.
It's not a policy, it's just a resolution.
Correct.
I would propose one slight amendment, which is to add, I'm a lawyer, add endeavor to before every verb in each resolution, and therefore, because I don't want to pass something I know I'm not going to actually do. I want to act, and I intend to support us doing this, but again, I intend to endeavor to.
Endeavor to, noted.
If I think that could help. So, for
Is
example,
endeavor the new should?
I don't know. It's a nice word, right?
No, I like it. I mean, I just remember being a high school debater, and should was the key word in most of those resolutions. Ought to, but not necessarily will. It sounded like endeavor had that same flavor to it.
I like ought more than should. I like endeavor more than ought. I don't know. Something along those lines that is a little more aspirational, but also, we don't just support you, but we support you. We're all in it together. So we are endeavoring to do it together with the students. That's my thought, because we're sort of the policy-making board, so we don't want to get too detailed into what we can and cannot do logistically. That's not for us to say, but we certainly support these goals. So,
Yeah.
I guess I would make a motion to adopt the resolution with the concept of endeavoring to do each of the resolutions with that amendment to each, be it further resolved.
I'll second that. I think I can do that as president.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll second that. Further discussion, now that we have a motion?
I just think that what I would really like to see is some high school students really get in the board's face and in teachers' faces and say, look, the board passed this. What can you do to help this happen? And keep on it.
Yeah, with the environmental club, when I revamped it this year, it was through the program I talked about, the CYCP, with the intention of having the main focus of the club this year be our waste and trying to reduce our waste. So that's definitely something that we can do and just go up in the faces and be like, hey, you should recycle. Here's what the school board said.
I mean, maybe you can make Jason put it on the agenda 3 more times this year.
Other comments from the audience? No? Anyone online, Aaron?
I see no one.
Please call.
Student trustee Quinlan.
Yes.
Trustee Floyd.
Yes.
Trustee Morton.
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer.
Yes.
Trustee Ohm.
Yes,
Trustee Griffin.
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you to all the members of the environmental club and the folks who supported Annabelle in this as well. Thanks.
We're going to jump back to number 9, which we passed. Is there anyone here that would like to address the board on anything that is not on the agenda this evening? Tobin, are you rising or are you leaving? You're leaving. Aaron, anyone out there on Zoom?
I see no one.
Okay, thank you. Okay, jumping back in, that was 10.3. We're on to 10.4, Phase 3. Board will discuss the small construction projects included in Phase 3 of the high school modernization. You know, Emily spoke to the soccer field work. I saw that and spoke with Terry Casey, who's been working on that. He's doing a great job. I think we're really lucky to have someone local doing that and going above and beyond. Just making that a great project. What else? I know I've seen what Ruben's been doing on the community school, and again, really good work that he's getting done there. I haven't been by in a bit.
We're still waiting on closeout at the high school before we can work on the gym and the locker rooms and stuff like that.
Correct. So what else?
Yeah, I mean, Ruben's moved to the front of the comm school now, so he's working on that. All the painting is done in the back of the metal. The outdoor drinking fountains are going to be installed on the 26th and 27th. And then I think his next goal is to start working on the wood shop, some of the wood shop doors and that work that we had planned for him there. And then the locker rooms.
Is there any new update on the trees between the PAC and the?
Yeah, so those are going to be done, I believe, the first or second week in February.
So we have a contractor?
We do. We had a quote from Family Tree Service, which was a lot cheaper than all the other quotes, or the other.
And they've got all the equipment. We know that.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add, Emily?
I
think there was the note of the state reimbursement money still delayed, and so we did have a discussion of possibly pausing on any other large expenditures in case we may want to have some of this funding to sort of as bridge money for photovoltaics, if it comes to that. I'm inclined to sort of cover ourselves in that regard, because it seems like we'll believe it when we see that check from the state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the last update was about 3 months.
But that's 3 or 4 months from when we thought we were going to have it.
So in your sense, are we going to get just one proposal from the RFPs? How is that? I mean,
Jason, for the photovoltaics?
Yeah. Jason was sort of saying they were going to.
Hopefully we're going to get 2 or 3 bids, hopefully. I mean, there was 4, wasn't there 4 contractors?
There were
one
5,
of them,
but 4 that were going to bid.
Right.
But, like I said, I will contact them and email the board.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we're not going with the lease back, so we have to take lowest bidder.
Right.
It's a low bid scenario.
Unless we feel like it's not a viable option, but yeah.
We're assuming
essentially it's
competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's a design build, where in that they will do the final design and handle the DSA submission.
Right.
NB5, I guess.
Right, so one price for everything in the package.
Mostly everything. I'm sure there's a few costs that still get tossed at us. Yeah. Other questions, comments, board? Out there, anyone? No? Okay. 10.5, MUSD first interim budget report. Meg, are you with us?
I am.
Okay.
Share screen. Sharing is not turned on. Send request. Okay. Is that working? Okay. Now I can't see you guys. Okay. So this is the first interim budget report. So what I included in your packet, I'm sure you read it with great interest. The first interim looks far better than we did at budget adoption. And so normally I would start in the weeds and work my way to the summary, but I'm going to start with the summary rather than working my way through the weeds. So this is showing us where we were at adoption, summarized, and where we were at first interim. So you can see revenue were better, we're ahead by $278,000. At adoption, we're building the budget, guessing at where we're going to close. And so we closed with a higher ending fund balance, which, obviously helps us going forward. We also closed with higher tax revenue, which then changes our revenue predictions for the rest of the year and for the multi-year projection. So we're ahead on revenue by the 278,000. We're also, with that, we've also increased our expenditures by the 252,000. And this negative here is an increase, but we've increased other uses by 71,000. So overall, our deficit spending is increasing, but our overall ending fund balance is also increasing, faster than our deficit spending is increasing. So where we thought we were going to have an ending fund balance at adoption of 1.6 million at the end of this year, we're going to have a projected ending fund balance of 2.06 million. So that's far better off than where we were. We're spending down our restricted ending fund balance. At budget adoption, we weren't projecting spending it down so much because we didn't have a plan for the restricted dollars that we had. So over the multi-year projection, we're actually going to be spending it down quicker than what we had projected. So that also helps our unappropriated ending fund balance down here. And so again, the projected unappropriated ending fund balance has risen by almost 600,000. So overall, we're better off than where we were. So now we'll get into the weeds. So this is the 24-25 property tax projections and the multi-year projection. So here, this yellow line, county certified P1 taxes as of November 15. So we go across the line, and these are their projections for each category of tax. And then this line down here, 24-25 in the purple, this is what I'm projecting. So for secured property tax, I'm holding it the same as county. And so you'll see that the increase in secured property tax over prior year is almost a 4% increase in property tax. County is projecting timber tax to be 70,600. I feel that that's a little low, so I'm maintaining it at our 120 where we've been projecting it. You can see just historically that the timber tax has always come in higher. They're projecting unsecured tax at 195, and I think that's too high. So I'm keeping the secured tax at the 160 where we've always been projecting it. And then the homeowners exemption, I'm matching theirs. Prior years, I'm maintaining it at 5,000. So overall, they're projecting 6.619 million. I'm projecting 6.632 million. The difference is only fractional. It's a $12,000 difference, a 0.19% variance. And then in the future years, 25, 26, 26, 27, and beyond, I maintain the 2.5% increase in secured taxes, maintain timber yield and unsecured taxes where they are, actually all of them where they are. And overall, we have an projected increase in property tax of 2.38%. Any questions on any of this? So this is the breakdown of revenue. LCFF sources, this is where we find property tax, and LCFF sources, this is also a component of our state aid. So at adoption, we were at 8.1 million. At first interim, we're at 8.3 million. And I have, you can read this down here. I have the breakdown of what is making up the variance. So district of choice in LCFF, this is coming down slightly based on the current enrollment and projections for the current enrollment. So this has come down from 106 to about 98.2, I think. Federal revenue is pretty much unchanged, but we've had these different, pluses and minuses throughout the different funding sources. State revenue is up 85,000. A big part of that is one-time stuff. So we have a second half of our CalHope grant will be booked this year. And then for CTEIG, this was a prior year carryover. So last year we had we had applied for and budgeted to buy equipment that we didn't really get purchased last year. So a lot of it's getting purchased this year. So that's one time. And then the rest of it is we have an increase in lottery and a decrease in mental health funding. And then local revenues are down about $20,000. The biggest thing is, we were planning on the community foundation grant. So that is not coming in this amount that we know of yet. And so that's been taken out of the budget. And we've had, special ed, local SELPA special ed's down some. Medi-Cal reimbursement is up. And then we have this new learning community for school success for 1 year. So that's added in. And then on the expenditure side, we have an increase in certificated salaries. So we had a position that we were talking about adoption, but we weren't certain about it. So after the start of school, or the start of the new year, we were certain about the position. So that got built in, and that is using restricted funds. That's one of the things that we're using our restricted dollars on. And then I also increased the added 17,600 for a long-term sub. We've also had in classified salaries, we had a $25,000 increase. We had retirement incentives that I didn't budget for correctly, and then just some other changes to bring us down to the 25,000. Benefits align with people, and then books and supplies. In here, you can see the CTEIG prior year purchase. Earlier this year, we also increased the lump and slip allocations by $16,000. We have the LCSS one-time money, and then some other various things to balance that out. Services and operations, these are all your professional services, utilities, stuff like that. Psych services, again, I didn't have that budgeted correctly, 51,000 I had to add. Community foundation, we took out those expenditures, and then there were some adjustments to utilities and some other areas. Capital outlay picks up the rest of the prior year CTEIG dollars. And then the KIT grant had some dollars we needed to spend, so we're spending those. So the other big thing is this transfers out down here, and this is where we transfer dollars to other funds. So generally when I talk about the budget, we're just talking about Fund 01, general budget, general fund. And so transfers out are any dollars that go from the general fund to any other fund. So preschool fund, cafeteria fund, deferred maintenance, that kind of thing. And so the big thing here is cafeteria. So this is budgeting for retirements, to bring staff in to work with Trish and Diane for the second half of the year, and to cover retirement incentives. So this is a one-time infusion into the cafeteria fund, and it's projected to be about $70,000. So overall, our expenditures are up $325,000, as opposed to our increase in, I'm going to go back on you, revenue of $278. So any questions on anything so far? Okay. And then this is the summary of the multi-year projection. And the stuff in blue is where we were at June adoption. So, deficit spending this year is a little bit higher, and actually it's a little bit higher each year with, the addition of the position, carried through as far as we can carry it through with our restricted dollars. So I think I covered taxes and how we're projecting that. And so revenue is going up each year, 10 million, 10.1, 10.3. Expenditures are going up. I've taken out one-time items in both expenditures and revenue. On expenditures, salaries have been increased for step and column in every year. Benefits adjust with salaries. And then for expenditures, I've reduced one-time items and then added 2% for inflation. And so we end up in 26-27 with an ending fund balance of 1.45 million. At June adoption, I was projecting 1.16 million. So we're certainly far better off than we were. This multi-year projection does not include planned reductions. So if you remember at budget adoption, in order to maintain our positive certification, we had to build in reductions in 25-26 of about 270,500. So this particular multi-year projection does not include any reductions in 25-26. So staffing remains the same, and for each year, and it's increased for step and column. Down here, I include the negotiation placeholder in each year. So then this negotiation placeholder is about 2% of salaries for each year. And so at the end of the day, I'm happy with this budget. It's a good budget. It's a positive budget. We can see the fruits of our decisions in the past couple of years. You can see how it's played through, and we're standing on more solid ground. So any questions or comments on this? Okay, so next steps, the audit report, they just finished it today.
I had a couple questions on that last slide, if you've got a sec.
The audit report, they just finished it today, so we'll have that for next.
Meg, hold on. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay. There's a question on the previous slide.
Can you hear me, Meg?
I cannot hear you.
All right. Now can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Right, I've got Jason.
Maybe I don't want to.
They shut down my mic, yeah.
Ooh.
I know, right? Just one question. So if we don't have any planned reductions for next year, can you explain how the expenditures drop from the 10.6 to the 10.5, from 24.5 to 25.6? Is that just planned retirements and natural attrition that's causing that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So in 24-25,
71,000 is just the extra one-time cost to the cafeteria, retirement, and double working. That's $71,000 right there that isn't ongoing.
right, that's right. So, it's the retirement incentives, it's planning for, extra people. We had extra people at the beginning of the year. We had, James was extra at the beginning of the year, Barbara worked part of the year, and so we had some overlap of staff at the beginning of the year that we won't have next year. And now we're going to have overlap of staff, if you will, in cafeteria at the second half of the year that we're not going to have next year. So that causes the expenditures to go down, and then all the benefits that go with that. And then we do have some one-time stuff in here, the CTEIG carryover caused this to go up. It caused, our budget to look better last year, but it's included in here. Once we're finalized for our CTEIG grant this year, they don't finalize them until we apply for it. I forget when we applied for it, August. We apply for it in August, and they don't tell us what we're going to get until January. So, we may be in the same boat next year if we don't spend the money on time. But it's staff. It's my long way to say it's staff.
Fair enough. And the other one is just the clarification on the negotiations placeholder. When you say that it does not include forward movement or step and column, so assuming we gave the 2% increase in 25-26, which is the 149,000 additional cost, that if we did that, then it would necessarily increase the cost in 26-27, and if we gave it again in 26-27, it'd basically be the 152,000 plus an additional 149,000 plus step and column, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the true cost of the 149, if we did both of those, would be more like 300,000 in 26-27 plus because of the step and column as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. So finally, the end. The audit report we'll go over it next month. I guess I can give you a preview of it. We are going to have an audit finding because there's a piece of the ELOP program that we cannot do. And so since we cannot do it, we will have an audit finding. P1 attendance is due in January, certified in January. The governor will come out with his initial 25-26 budget in January. And then in February, we have to provide a LCAP mid-year update. So, and then second interim is March. And then the kind of the final taxes we know before we start building next year's budget is a P2 certified that come out April 15th. And I think that's all I have.
Thank you, Meg. Any questions?
No, I'm happy with the good news.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Meg.
You're welcome.
All righty.
It is an action item.
Oh, yes, thank you. That was 10.5. Do I have a motion?
I'll move that we approve the first interim report.
Second?
Thank you. Please call Aaron.
Student trustee Kvinzland?
Yes.
Trustee Floyd?
Yes.
Trustee Morton?
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer?
Yes.
Trustee Elm?
Yes.
Trustee Griffin?
Yes.
So is that, did we stop putting actions on each one? Is that what happened? Okay. Threw me there. 10.6, water storage project. Board will consider and possibly approve the contract with Wallen Construction for the water storage project. Jason, you want to give some
Yeah,
background?
according to Matt Kennedy, we're ready to award as soon as we get our permits. We want to get going on it, so it's a reduced dollar amount, and I'll change the date on there. His office wrote this up and put the date that they sent it, so I'll change the date.
So we didn't rebid, we just negotiated with them because they had been the low bidder the first go-round.
Yeah, they were the only bidder.
They're only bidder. But we did negotiate with them quite a bit.
A lot, yeah.
My only question, Jason, is assuming we get, planning permission approval, Thursday, if there's an appeal, what does that do to the timeline?
Well, the coastal commission still has to approve it as far as this is just the county doing their part again, and then
Right.
it still has to go to the coastal commission.
So what I'm asking is if we're committing to pay the $7,486,000 by adopting this, and the coastal commission, delays or rejects the county's actions, where does that leave us?
Well, that's a good question, and I think that's something that I should ask Matt. There should be maybe language in here pending permit approval.
There must have been something before because we approved this previously and then had to pull it back.
We never awarded it, though.
We never awarded
awarded
This is
it.
the first time we've
Yeah.
done that.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure we have language in there that's, and I guess, among the other things I'm concerned about is that, not that we won't prevail in the long run on the approval, but if the permitting process through the Coastal Commission takes 6 or 7 months, that's going to really throw us out of time to get it completed by the time that the funding that's coming from the MCCSD for the extra storage, that deadline would be in jeopardy. So I just want some assurance that that's flexible enough that if it does take the Coastal Commission till May to approve it, that we're not putting the district at risk.
Okay, I don't think there's any harm in holding this off if you want, or we could take action and find out those answers later? Or,
I think we can take, I'm okay with taking action and leaving it to you to make sure that if we need to hold it back, you can do that. But, I understand that where Matt's coming from in terms of wanting to, make sure that they're not going to back out at the last minute, and two, to be able to move immediately. But, this timeline has slipped so many times that it's something that I do get anxious about.
Right. Matt knows the answers to these, and he's our consultant. I feel like he's done an amazing job, and so I feel like I trust him that he wouldn't be putting this forth if he hasn't thought these things through, but I will be doing that.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve you signing this contingent on your satisfaction that with Matt, that we're not putting the district in jeopardy if these delays prove to be, lengthy.
I'll second that. Any further discussion?
Does he need this before the January meeting?
I don't believe so.
Because the
Well,
notice
I
of-
don't know, actually. I mean,
The notice of award refers to executing a contract, but we don't actually have the contract, we just have the notice of award.
right.
The contract itself might have some of this in it, but I don't know, because I don't have the contract.
That's true.
I think the contract, as I remember it, which went out to bid a year ago, August. So it's fairly stale in terms of timing. But I think that it was a standard construction contract. There were no limitations in terms of waiting for permits or waiting for this. That's why I think we should give Jason the discretion to hold back if signing this would commit us to pay Wallen the money, and we still weren't able to get the project done in the timely manner. We need to get all the money from the state that's paying for it. I mean, at this point, the state's paying 100% of the project. But some of the money has a nearer timeline than the other. And the last I heard, the portion that was coming through the MCCSD, the timeline was December 31st of next year, just over a year away. And it's it's not a small construction project. So I think my worst case scenario is if the Coastal Commission didn't finish their appeal process until March or April or May, that we would lose the construction window in the summer, and that would jeopardize the whole thing.
Well, I think your resolution, your motion is safe then, so you're passing it contingent on getting those answers.
Yeah.
You good with that, Emily?
Yeah. I'd rather see the contract.
Is there any big risk to?
Next time, include the contract. So.
Sure. I mean,
That's all.
is there a strong
Right.
reason to
But
not
with
delay
that
it for 1 month?
understanding, then we'll, It's all right, I trust Jason. Yeah. And if he wants to show me the contract later, he will. Yeah, it's all good.
Any other comments? Anyone else out there? No? No? Okay, please call Aaron.
Student trustee Kvinzland.
Yes.
Trustee Floyd.
Yes.
Trustee Morton.
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer.
Yes.
Trustee Alm.
Yes.
Trustee Griffin.
Yes.
Okay, 10.7, substitute pay rate discussion. Jason will discuss increasing.
Yeah, so let's see, a couple things here. I'm going to pass out something that didn't make it into the board packet, but that needs to be done by January 1st. So there's two things here. I would like to increase the certificated substitute rate to $205 a day. Virtually every school district in our area is now up to 200, so I'd like to go to 205. The total cost of this annually is going to be about $18,000. That's with benefits included. But we always need subs, and if we can be competitive, I think we should be. That's the first one. And then the second one is we have the minimum wage goes up to $16.50 January 1st, and the classified substitutes are paid at the lowest rate of the first step, so that is $16.50. And so we need to increase the range 30 to $16.50 minimally by January 1st here. And then I'm hoping through the negotiations with CMS, we'll be able to bump that minimum wage up significantly. But that will happen by July 1st. If we can negotiate
So this is a temporary step toward a much larger increase in our minimum wage, which, as long as it's below what McDonald's pays, is kind of pathetic.
Agree.
Okay, so, but,
There are two parts.
yeah, but is this at substitute pay rate? This is more than just subs. Why is this about, what's the part about the 12?
Second thing, and in the agenda is the
Yeah,
first thing.
so the agenda is just the increase of the daily rate for certificated subs to
Right.
205, and then on a separate note, we need to increase our step one range 30 to 1650, so the substitute rate for classified is also raised to minimum wage.
Okay, but is this on the agenda anywhere?
Yeah, I mean, this is the substitute rate we're talking about.
It's a part of 10.7.
Okay,
Yeah.
but this
But the
effective,
document-
the
the
12-month
document-
employee part, that's not a substitute.
No, that's just information.
Okay. Second line on this, effective 7/1/2020, 12-month employees
Oh,
under
that's
contract.
just part of the language of the.
Okay, okay, sorry, it just threw me off because
Yeah,
that's
sorry.
not a substitute. Okay. And then the third, collective bargaining unit.
Well, I mean, it is substitutes, but it's also those employees who are at range 30. So that's why that's in there. So, so in our instructional aides, office assistant, preschool teacher assistant, cook, library assistant, all of that range 30 will have to be moved up to 1650 because that's what substitutes are paid. It's kind of.
Yeah. Okay. I'm still a little confused. It doesn't seem like it all fits under the agendized item, but I don't have any problem with what you're telling us as long as it's all fine with our,
It's just-
our announcement.
It is
laws.
a roundabout way
Okay.
of saying that the classified substitute pay, because the substitute pay discussion is not just for, 10.7 is for certificated and classified. So this is
Okay.
how we solve the classified
Okay,
minimum wage for substitutes.
okay.
What's the current daily rate for certificated substitutes?
185.
So it's $20. And how long a day is it? Is it 8 hours? Is this
7.5.
And then you said something about the cost including benefits, but subs don't get benefits, do they? Unless they're, if they're long-term?
Payroll benefits.
What's that?
Payroll benefits.
What do you mean?
Well,
The cost of payroll?
The taxes that we have to.
Oh, that we have to pay, I got you. Okay, right. Understood. Okay, right, our cost,
Our cost, yeah.
yes. Any other questions, comments? Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the substitute pay rate increase to $205 a day, as well as the new range 30 to 1650 an hour.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, please call, Aaron.
Student trustee Quinlan.
Yes.
Trustee Boyd.
Yes.
Trustee Morton.
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer.
Yes.
Trustee Alm.
Yes.
Trustee Griffin.
Yes.
10.8, approval of resolution 2024-21 regarding accounting of developer fees for fiscal year 23-24. Any information, Jason?
No, it's just we had a public hearing about the developer fees we collected in 23-24. I don't have the number in front of me, but
Okay.
this resolution just kind of finalizes the 23-24 developer fee year.
Okay. Comments, questions from the board? Anyone else? Comments, questions?
The amount we have in the fund went up from 260,000 to 314,000. And we have it there in the resolution that we'll use up to 300,000 for a new K-8 playground.
Do I have a motion?
I move that we adopt resolution 2024-20.
21, isn't it?
What? Oh, 20.
21.
20 on the,
The document still says 20.
Oh, it says 21 on the agenda.
I see. Which is it?
Whatever the number is, the resolution
21.
regarding accounting of development fees.
Okay, so,
We vacillated back and forth. It's whatever you guys want it to be. Can we make it 21?
21, let's make it 21.
Okay.
Just as long as we correct it on the original.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Further discussion? Please call, Aaron.
Student trustee Quinlan.
Yes.
Trustee Boyd.
Yes.
Trustee Morton.
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer.
Yes.
Trustee Alm.
Yes.
Trustee Griffin.
Yes.
Okay, board calendar.
So this is being brought forth because we need to get out to COMSHE. We had to cancel COMSHE twice now, so we can choose to move everything down a notch here. We're scheduled to go to Albion in February. We can just go to COMSHE instead, then push everything back six months typically.
This doesn't show anything in Albion in February. I just printed this today.
What I'm looking at online, down below.
Oh, this is last year. Thank
Yeah,
you.
down below
Thank you.
further.
That's we're almost at the end of this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, gotcha. So we missed COMSHE. Just bump it.
That's what I was thinking.
Restructure it unless we want. I like thinking out the outlines schools, and it's oftentimes the only time I'm there. But either that or we squeeze it in before, in December or January, and then we have.
My only wish is that we would change it so that we went to outlying schools early in the year or late in the year, just because of light and driving there and rainstorms and so on, and then we wouldn't be canceling things and moving things if we use the two ends of the school year.
When do we usually go to Elk? Because that's not on here at all.
It's
We rotate.
rotated.
So
Right, no, but so it didn't make it this whole cycle?
It's every 4
No.
months.
Okay. Yeah, but it would have been right here somewhere?
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Right, we were there, yeah. But right, so it'd be hard to appeal to what you're saying unless we squeeze them closer together.
Did go, I think it's
Yeah.
just
it's not on
Yeah.
there, but we went.
No, that's what I'm saying.
But it's every 4 months typically.
Okay, so it would have been, would have been in May or something, we were out in the Elk.
Yeah.
What if we went to COMSHE in April and Albion in June?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Getting them
Works for
in
me.
during better weather.
We got a thumbs up from probably the most important person here, and that's Marshall, when it comes to
Yeah.
getting our.
You like those, Marshall?
February was, we did a heart attack, we said February, there's 3 other, it's our last home basketball game, and being on show the same night, so that would have been a little rough stretch.
So you're saying April
April 17
would be comp?
would be COMSHE, and then what? There's a couple of them in June, so I'd say the earlier one.
The one in June is the LCAP and budget public hearing.
Which one? There's
The
June
5th.
5 and June 10.
The 5th.
Isn't that really a tiny board meeting?
Yes, we should do June 10, which is a regular one. So,
What is this? Yeah. Not just early for some other budget stuff or something?
Yeah, we typically have been doing the last meeting.
That's potentially, that's the last meeting before school's out.
Yeah,
June
we
10.
moved it to Tuesday because the Thursday is comp school graduation.
Gotcha. Works for me.
if we've
So
got
which one,
during
June
last-
5th or June 10th?
June
10th.
10th,
June 10th in Albion,
Yes.
and then
April.
April 17th in COMSHE.
April 17th in COMSHE.
That work down there for you, Mia?
Yeah.
Mark?
I just want you to know, if you didn't do that, I was going to vote no.
I'm glad you didn't pressure us.
I'll move to make those changes to the calendar.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mark. Any other further comments? No?
Thank you. Student trustee Kvinslin.
Yes.
Trustee Boyd.
Yes.
Trustee Morton.
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer.
Yes.
Trustee Owen.
Yes.
Trustee Griffin.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's it. Anything else before we adjourn? Any agenda items to add? Anyone? No? Okay. Thank you all. Adjourned.
We have a lot of signatures. I think
Okay.
everybody has something to sign, so
Okay.
pass it on down.
You mentioned the cafeteria stuff. They snuck right up on me.